R. Kelly's life inside a North Carolina federal prison was already bleak, but in the summer of 2025, his situation became far more disturbing. The disgraced R&B star is serving a decades-long federal sentence with little realistic chance of returning to normal life anytime soon. His career is gone, his freedom is gone, and the world he once controlled has been reduced to locked doors, monitored calls, prison schedules, and constant supervision. Then came a series of emergency court filings that changed everything. According to Kelly's legal team, something happened to him inside solitary confinement that was more than just a medical emergency. His attorneys claimed he had been deliberately put in danger. The government strongly rejected those accusations. And once the case reached a federal judge, the real question became simple: what could actually be proven? Robert Sylvester Kelly was born on January 8, 1967 in Chicago, Illinois. He rose from the south side of Chicago to become one of the most successful R&B artists of his generation. At his peak, R. Kelly was everywhere. His songs dominated radio. He sold tens of millions of records. He won 3 Grammy Awards and wrote and produced music for major artists across the industry. His sound helped define mainstream R&B through the 1990s and early 2000s. But while his career kept growing, allegations of sexual misconduct involving women and underage girls followed him for decades. For years, those allegations existed alongside his fame. There were lawsuits, settlements, denials, and industry figures who continued working with him. Eventually, federal prosecutors built cases that Kelly could no longer escape. In September 2021, a federal jury in New York convicted him of racketeering and violations of the Mann Act. In June 2022, he was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison.
Then came a separate Chicago case. In September 2022, Kelly was convicted on 6 counts, including producing child pornography and enticing minors into criminal sexual activity. In February 2023, he received another 20-year sentence, with 19 years running at the same time as the New York sentence and 1 additional year added at the end. The practical result is that Kelly could remain in federal custody until he is close to 80 years old. His appeals have also faced major setbacks. For the foreseeable future, prison is his reality. Kelly was eventually transferred to the Federal Correctional Institution at Butner, North Carolina, part of a federal prison complex known for handling long-term inmates and serious medical needs. For a man who once lived with money, assistants, hotels, studios, and packed arenas, life at Butner is the complete opposite. There are no entourages, no private doctors, no personal schedule. He eats when the institution tells him to eat. He moves when staff allow him to move. Calls are monitored. Visits are controlled. Medical care happens through prison procedures. And then came solitary confinement. Inside what the Bureau of Prisons calls the Special Housing Unit, an inmate can spend 22 or 23 hours a day alone in a cell. Movement is limited. Human contact is minimal. The psychological pressure can become severe. This environment became the center of the R. Kelly controversy in June 2025.
On June 10th, Kelly's attorneys filed an emergency motion containing an extraordinary allegation. They claimed they had evidence that federal prison officials had encouraged another inmate to kill him. The defense relied in part on a sworn declaration from inmate Michael Glenn Stein. According to Kelly's lawyers, Stein claimed prison officials had approached him with an offer involving his freedom in exchange for killing Kelly. Kelly's attorneys also claimed there was a motive. They alleged Kelly and his legal team were preparing to expose misconduct involving Bureau of Prisons employees, including accusations that staff had accessed privileged attorney-client communications. It was an explosive allegation, but it was still an allegation, not a proven fact. Then, 2 days later, the situation escalated. On June 12, 2025, Kelly was placed in solitary confinement. His attorneys argued that the move was retaliation for the emergency filing. Then came the medical crisis. According to his legal team,
prison staff gave Kelly anxiety and sleep medication in an amount far higher than his normal dosage. During the early hours of June 13th, Kelly reportedly woke up dizzy and weak. He saw black spots. He tried to stand and collapsed. His attorneys said he crawled toward the cell door before losing consciousness. Prison staff placed him on a gurney and took him for medical treatment. He was later transported by ambulance to Duke University Hospital in Durham, North Carolina. Kelly remained hospitalized for about 2 days. His attorneys then claimed he was returned to federal custody against medical advice. They also said he was suffering from blood clots in his lungs.
But the defense went even further. Kelly's lawyers alleged that the medication incident was not an accident. They described it as a deliberate attempt to kill him. Attorney Bo Brindley argued that Kelly's life remained in danger and that prison officials were trying to silence him. The government strongly disputed that version of events, and that is where the story becomes much more complicated. There is a major difference between proving that Kelly suffered a real medical emergency and proving that prison officials intentionally caused it. His collapse and hospitalization are one part of the story. The accusation of an assassination attempt is another. Kelly's lawyers said the two were directly connected. Federal officials said the evidence did not support that claim. And once the government responded, the case moved away from dramatic accusations and toward a much harder question. What did the evidence actually show? Because if Kelly's attorneys were right, this would be an extraordinary abuse of power inside the federal prison system. But if the government was right, then a serious medical crisis had been turned into a conspiracy claim the evidence could not prove. And that is where the next part begins. Because when the judge examined the claims more closely, the story started to look very different. That is an extraordinary claim, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The federal government rejected Kelly's version of events almost completely. Prosecutors in Chicago responded sharply, arguing that his attorneys were trying to turn a prison medical incident into what they described as a fanciful conspiracy. They accused Kelly's legal team of using dramatic allegations to push for his release, and suggested that the filing was more theatrical than factual. Government sources also disputed the way his hospitalization had been described. While Kelly's lawyers portrayed the incident as a near-fatal assassination attempt, the government characterized it as a medical transport followed by treatment and a safe return to federal custody. Those are two completely different versions of the same event. The government also raised another important issue: jurisdiction. Kelly was being held in North Carolina, while the emergency motion had been filed in Illinois. Federal prosecutors argued that the Illinois court did not have the authority to decide questions involving conditions inside a prison located outside its district. The judge agreed. Judge Martha Packold denied Kelly's emergency request because the court lacked jurisdiction over his North Carolina confinement. That point is important. The judge did not decide whether Kelly's lawyers were telling the truth. She did not rule that prison officials tried to harm him. She also did not rule that they did not. The request was denied on procedural grounds. In simple terms, the court said this is not the right place to decide this issue. Kelly's attorney quickly responded that the ruling had been expected and said the legal team would pursue the matter in the proper jurisdiction. They also discussed additional attempts to challenge his Chicago convictions using what they described as newly discovered evidence. But for Kelly, the immediate reality did not change. He remained inside the federal prison complex at Butner. The allegations surrounding his hospitalization remained unresolved, and the public was left with two competing stories. The attorney-client privilege issue is also central to the defense's theory. Kelly's lawyers claimed that prison officials had intercepted private legal communications between Kelly and his attorneys. If something like that were proven, it could raise serious constitutional concerns. Attorney-client confidentiality exists, so defendants can discuss legal strategy without fear that those conversations will be monitored and used against them. Kelly's lawyers argued that this alleged violation created a motive for retaliation.
They claimed prison officials wanted to silence Kelly before he could expose what had happened. But again, that remains an allegation. The courts have not established that prison staff actually carried out such a scheme. What the emergency filings definitely accomplished was putting R. Kelly back into national headlines. Not because of music, not because of a new criminal conviction, but because his legal team was accusing federal prison officials of some of the most serious misconduct imaginable. And the broader questions go beyond R. Kelly himself. Solitary confinement, medical treatment inside federal prisons, medication management, the accountability of prison staff. These are real issues regardless of who the inmate is. The federal government has a legal responsibility to provide adequate medical care and lawful conditions of confinement. That responsibility does not disappear because an inmate has been convicted of serious crimes. But the existence of that responsibility also does not mean every allegation made by an inmate or defense lawyer is automatically true. That is why evidence matters. What can be said with confidence is limited. Kelly's attorneys claim he was given too much medication while in solitary confinement.
They claim another inmate said officials encouraged him to kill Kelly. They claim prison staff accessed privileged legal communications. And they claim Kelly was retaliated against because his lawyers were preparing to expose misconduct. The government disputes those claims. The emergency request was denied because of jurisdiction, and Kelly remains in federal custody. The full details of what happened inside his cell on June 13, 2025 are still not completely clear from the public record. The June filings also came after Kelly had already lost major legal battles. His New York conviction was upheld on appeal. His attempt to bring the Chicago case before the Supreme Court failed. That means his legal options are increasingly limited. The prison condition motions are different from his criminal appeals. Instead of directly challenging the convictions themselves, they focus on how he is being treated while serving his sentence. Kelly's attorneys indicated that they would continue taking those complaints to courts with the authority to hear them. They also continued exploring other legal avenues. Kelly sought presidential clemency, and his lawyers publicly suggested that discussions with people connected to President Trump had increased, but no clemency action had been announced. For a man facing a sentence that could keep him incarcerated until close to age 80, every remaining legal option matters, and court filings are one of the few tools still available to him. Back at Butner, the medical questions remain important. His lawyers said he was suffering from blood clots in his lungs that can be a serious medical condition.
But the full picture of his health, his treatment, and whether his condition has stabilized has not been completely made public. What is known is that Kelly was transported to Duke University Hospital and later returned to federal custody. His attorneys continued to describe his situation as dangerous. Federal officials rejected the idea that he was being deliberately targeted, and that leaves the public with two dramatically different narratives. In one version, R. Kelly is an inmate whose own jailers tried to harm him, overdosed him with medication, and retaliated against him because he planned to expose prison misconduct. In the other version, Kelly is a convicted federal inmate whose lawyers exaggerated a medical incident and built a sensational conspiracy theory around routine prison healthcare. Neither version has been fully proven in public, and that is the most important point. Fame does not make an allegation true. It only makes the allegation louder. R. Kelly was once one of the biggest names in American music. He performed in packed arenas, controlled recording sessions, traveled with entourages, and lived at a level of celebrity few artists ever reach. Now, almost every part of his life is controlled by the federal prison system. His schedule, his movement, his medical care, his communication, even his ability to tell his own side of the story. That may be the biggest transformation of all. The man who once controlled every room he entered now lives in a world where almost nothing is under his control. And whether the June 2025 incident was a genuine conspiracy or a medical crisis turned into a legal strategy, one thing remains unchanged. R. Kelly is still behind bars, and the battle over what happened inside Butner is far from completely settled.